of IIT Kanpur. Professor Agrawal has also served the responsibility as Dean, Faculty Affairs at IIT Kanpur. He is proud alumnus of IIT Kanpur who has done BTech and Doctor of Philosophy in Computer Science both from IIT Kanpur. Professor Agrawal has been awarded a Clear Research Award for his work in algorithms and computational theory in 2002. He is a recipient of Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar Prize for Science and Technology in Mathematical Sciences in 2003 and IIT Kanpur Distinguished Alumnus Award in 2003. He created the AKS Primality test with Neeraj Kayal and Nitin Saxena, for which he and his co-authors won Fulkerson Prize and Gödel Prize both in 2006. In September 2008, Professor Agrawal was chosen for the first Infosys Mathematics Prize for outstanding contribution in the broad field of mathematics. He has served on the Mathematical Sciences jury for the Infosys Prize in 2014 and 2015. Professor Agrawal is honored with the fourth highest civilian award in the Republic of India, Padma Shri, in 2013. Recently, Professor Agrawal has published his study in various print media, which is based on Sutra, a mathematical model's prediction of the new peak in active cases of COVID-19, and predicted that the ongoing second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic in India may peak between May 11 to 15 with 30 to 35 lakh active cases and decline steeply by the end of May. Professor Agrawal and his team also added the Sutra model's prediction of the new peak in sensitive to the daily new infections data. Even little bit of change each day causes the peak numbers to change by several thousands. I now request you, sir, to share your thoughts with the audience. Please, sir.
Thank you, and a very good morning to everyone who has joined this. I gave a presentation in December last year when I talked about the Sutra model and the predictions coming out of it. And I said that we are, of course, not only on decline, but the pandemic is nearing its end in India. Unfortunately, that was not to be. As we all have seen from March this year, there has been a very dramatic rise, especially in the month of April. The rise has been phenomenal, and that led us to re-evaluate our analysis. And what I'm going to show you today is an updated version of this analysis. Just a few slides. For India, for Madhya Pradesh, as well as for Indore. And what I'm going to focus on in understanding exactly what happened and our analysis, we just use the data that gets reported, daily new infections, daily new recoveries, etc. And using that, analyzing that data, we discover certain patterns, and that those patterns tell us how the pandemic is behaving. So let me share Okay, so I presume everybody can see this is the update on the Sutra model, through the Sutra model, I should say. A very brief recollection to those who were there in the last meeting and those who were not. Even for them, what I'm going to describe is something which should make sense. There are basically in the model, the entire population is divided into 5 different components. S of t is a variable that represents the fraction of susceptible population at time t. So everything is measured in terms of fraction of the population. And this, of course, these changes. So susceptible population is the population which is not yet infected but may get infected in future. U of t is the fraction of infected population, but that is undetected at time t. And T of t is the fraction of detected infected population, so they have been tested positive. R sub U of t is the fraction of undetected removed population. So a lot of infected people who remain undetected and they move to the removed category, that is, they are no longer infected. So those are all accounted for in the variable R sub U, and R sub T accounts for the fraction of removed population that gets detected. So we have these 5 variables, and these variables change over time. And what we can observe is only these 2, T of T and R sub T of T. This is the data that is daily reported. The other 3 variables are not reported. So we have to estimate them. And it has 6 parameters, namely the contact rate beta. This governs the speed at which people get infected. The removal rate gamma governs the speed at which infected people get removed. Eta is mortality rate. The name explains what it represents. Epsilon is the ratio of detected to total infections. So infections that get detected are only a fraction of what actually exists. So the parameter epsilon measures that ratio. C is just a constant. It's not a very minor parameter, so I'm not going to explain this. And rho is the reach of the pandemic. This is also a very important parameter. What it tells us is that what fraction of population the pandemic is currently active at. And this fraction changes with time. It typically keeps on increasing, but it doesn't immediately increase to the entire population because a lot of controls are put in place to stop its spread. So now coming for India, so what we did was we estimated the values of all these parameters. Now remember, these parameters also change with time because the contact rate changes when suppose there is a lockdown that brings down the contact rate. Suppose a lot of people start moving around, meeting each other, then contact rate goes up. Similarly, reach changes over time. As I said, it generally keeps on increasing. So one has to therefore divide the entire timeline of the pandemic into distinct phases, such that in each phase, these parameter values are stationary, but across the phases, they change. And when they change, then there is initial drift period in a phase when the values of these parameters are changing slowly, and then they stabilize for the rest of the phase. So this is the parameter value table for India. India has, according to us, has 9 phases from the beginning of the pandemic. And this first column denotes the start date of each phase. The second column represents the number of days during which the parameter values are drifting, changing slowly. And what I would draw your attention to is the third column, namely how the contact rate is changing. If you see, this is the pre-lockdown period, March last year. The contact rate was 0.33, and after the lockdown was imposed, it came down and stayed very low, 0.15, 0.16, up to October end. Then in November, December, it went up, the 3 months, November, December, January. And then it shot up very significantly in end February, March. And this connects well with what has actually been observed because of a mutant, which is more infectious, also with people mixing a lot with each other during after February. Both contributed to this significant rise in the contact rate. Then from April, since certain lockdowns, curbs were applied at various places, people also became more careful. The contact rate has come down a little bit. The parameter gamma we fixed to be 0.1 because that's a property of this COVID virus, that typically an infected person it can infect others for about 10 days, and that governs the value of gamma, 1/10. And then the last two columns, they represent the values of epsilon and the reach. Now, this exact values that are listed here, I would caution, should be taken with a pinch of salt, because it really depends on the calibration. So the model computes all the parameters except this epsilon value in phase 1. That has to be input externally, and this I have given 37 based on some estimations. However, this may not be exact. So once this calibration gets chosen, everything else gets fixed. So if whatever is the right calibration, that would determine the values of these values in these last two columns. So these values should only be taken as approximate. However, what is more important is the change in these values that is observed. First thing is that epsilon has hardly changed. Although it's a parameter which can change across phases, it hasn't really deviated much. And coming to the reach, if you see, reach was very small in the beginning of the pandemic up to May. And then it jumped up substantially over the next 2-3 months. That is due to the reverse migration of workers to different parts of the country, also lockdown easing up from July. And then it kind of remained stationary for an extended period. And then jumped again very significantly in March, April this year. And this jump corresponds to the people, a lot of people who were taking precautions earlier. They kind of stopped taking that. And also it spread very significantly into rural areas. So all that combined together made the spread of the pandemic very large. So if you see the last two phases, you can see why there has been a very major jump. Contact rate increased very significantly. This means infection started spreading very fast. And reach also almost doubled. That means a lot more population was available to be infected. So these two factors together just caused havoc. On the other hand, if you look at the earlier last year situation, when the reach did increase very significantly here, but the contact rate was very low at that time. And that's the reason why the first peak was like gentle and not very high. So with this updated estimation of parameters, this is the prediction that we computed through the model on 29th of April. The blue curve represents the daily new infection curve, and the orange one represents the predictions by the model. And on 29th April, we were somewhere here, and that's the time we predicted that it's going to peak somewhere around 4th, 5th of May, and follow this trajectory. In reality, it peaked on 8th of May, but the trajectory being followed is very, very similar to what we had predicted. A similar analysis we did for Madhya Pradesh, and again, Madhya Pradesh has underwent 9 phases, just like India. Again, you can see that the lockdown phase, very small value of the contact rate. The reach also stayed quite low. Then contract rate increased, and again the same, pretty much coinciding with what happened with India, 0.39, and then after some restrictions, 0.33. The reach again has jumped very significantly, and that again is really reflecting how things panned out for India in general. And that's because of this very significant peak. And we computed this prediction on 10th of May because the last phase, which started on 21st of April with 8 days of drift. So we needed to collect some stable period data in order to estimate the parameter values of the last phase. And finally, your city, Indore. Indore has gone through 8 phases. If you look at the parameter values, they are Actually, this one in February, it seems to have gone up very high. So what it suggests is that people really started mixing by the middle of February, and for 1 month that continued, and then it came down. I guess after the infection started spreading, and then lockdowns etc. reduced it even further. The reach situation is similar, staying low and then jumping up. And this is the plots for Indore that there was. This is the time when some strict lockdown was imposed, so that really flattened this curve and made it bend like this, and that's what the model also predicts. So that's all I had to show you. That's just a quick update on how things have actually panned out for the second phase. Now, regarding the third phase, what one can say is the following, that the second phase is going to give immunity to a large fraction of population. That immunity is going to last for a few months. And if in that period of few months, let's say by October, November this year, we are able to vaccinate a good number of people, say around 50 crores, then the third wave will certainly come, because virus will keep mutating, it will keep trying to infect others. But the severity of this wave will be entirely determined by the size of immune population. That's why I say 50 crore plus people could be vaccinated by November. Then we will have a not very significant third wave. On the other hand, if we are unable to immune a large fraction of population, then we may be in trouble. So that's all I wanted to share with you. We'll be happy to see if there is any query.
Thank you so much, sir. We have been hearing about the data on COVID-19, but you have aptly made us understand the implementation of mathematical sciences and technology that have helped the world to plan for measures to lower the effect of the pandemic. On behalf of our institute, I congratulate you for your contribution to the work. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Our next guest of the session, Professor Dr. Uwer Guven, has marked his excellence across the globe in space sciences, which motivates us